Cameras rolling.
Okay, Minister, could you introduce the links between Trinidad and Tobago and the United States, the investment links?
The investment links between Trinidad and Tobago and the United States go back a long way. We've had long relations in the oil industry, for instance. There has been investments here since the 1900s, really. And that has continued over the years. The number of U.S. companies operating in the oil and natural gas sector is quite significant. But there are also U.S. companies operating here in areas outside of the energy sector. In addition to that, there is tremendous tourist traffic between the United States and Trinidad and Tobago. Some of it is business, tourism related to the oil and gas sector, but related to other things. And some of it is just for the sake of tourism, vacationing, etc., but that continues.
Great, very good. And what is the government of Trinidad doing to create more visibility for the country to the U.S.?
Well, Trinidad and Tobago, in a sense, is open for business investment from the United States, and we open to tourism from the United States. As I indicated, tourism is strong from the U.S., and so is investment. But given the kind of growth projections we aspire to in Trinidad and Tobago, given the level of diversification we need to achieve to move away from energy dependency, we are looking to the U.S. for major investments. This is a good place to invest. It offers a tremendously attractive quality of life. And more than that, it is 7 miles away from the nearest coast of South America. And it is a hop to almost every island in the Caribbean. So in locational terms, in quality of life terms, I think this is a great opportunity for U.S. investors, and it is also a great opportunity for U.S. holidaymakers.
And you mentioned you want to focus on non-energy related sectors and investment from the U.S. Can you name the non-energy related sectors that the U.S. is really keen on investing in?
Well, what we are hoping for are investors, for instance, in the IT sector. We are hoping for investors in the services sector. We are hoping for investors in construction. We are hoping for investors in other aspects of the tourism sector. We are hoping for investors in infrastructure development, because as the country grows, we have that. But in addition, we have identified 5 major growth poles in Trinidad and Tobago, which are going to be strongly incentivized for new investment, because we want to expand the economic space. And for that, we need the kind of diversified investment that I mentioned earlier. Engineering-related services, for instance. Shipbuilding and related infrastructure and services. The entertainment industry and cultural industries. Carnival is a very big thing here, and this is a very multicultural community and society, and there are tremendous opportunities for growth in these particular sectors targeting the world market. And all of these sectors we feel can be attractive to investors here and lucrative for those who are willing to take the plunge.
Very good.
Cut 1 second, please. I need to fix that. Camera's rolling.
Okay, Minister, what is the role of the private sector in Trinidad and Tobago in attracting more investment, more companies to Trinidad?
the role of the private sector here in attracting more investment to the country is a very important one. First of all, we have our Chamber of Commerce, and you have a number of them spread across the country. But we also have specifically an American Chamber of Commerce, which basically brings together American investors in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as local investors that either have an interest in the U.S. market or in joint venture type collaboration. So they play a very, very important role. We have some significant companies here from the U.S. in Trinidad and Tobago. Microsoft, for instance, is in Trinidad and Tobago. We have 3M in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have a number of energy companies in Trinidad and Tobago. Most of the big name U.S. companies in the energy sector are in Trinidad and Tobago in the oil and gas industry. In the gas industry, we have Atlantic LNG. We have in the oil. We also have we have British companies here as well. So it's really multinational in the energy sector. But the significant and dominant group of companies in the energy sector would be from the U.S.
And who specifically do you think are the best ambassadors for Trinidad? Who are the most aggressive ones who are supporting the government in attracting more of these companies?
Well, recently there was a mission to Brazil, and one of the companies that was involved in that, for instance, was British Gas. And they basically, in Trinidad, they are known as BG, and they were heavily involved. But we've also had other companies support the government in the thrust in energy. You also have BP here in Trinidad and Tobago. You have, God, I've got a cut. It's slipping.
It's okay.
Camera's rolling.
There is a very active American Chamber of Commerce in Trinidad and Tobago. And there are over 100 companies from the United States operating in this country. I will mention a few that might be better known in the United States. BP, of course, Halliburton, Atlantic LNG, 3M, Microsoft, companies like that that have enjoyed success both in the energy sector and outside of the energy sector. And they actively support the government and the country in attracting more investment to Trinidad and Tobago. Recently, because of the fallout in Louisiana with BP, some companies that were associated with BP in supporting industries actually moved out of Trinidad and Tobago because they had to rethink their business globally. And therefore there are opportunities here in Trinidad and Tobago that have been left by that particular vacuum that was created by the tragedy in Louisiana.
Very good. Can you tell us how you feel, because we want to show that the government of Trinidad and the private sector of Trinidad are working together hand in hand to help promote the country. So can you tell us how the private sector and public sector are working together in Trinidad?
Yes. The Trinidad and Tobago is moving strategically to a kind of collaborative discussion climate for development. And we are in the process now of bringing to the table together government, business, labor, and civil society to discuss policy and strategy and development initiatives in Trinidad and Tobago. More than that, in all our negotiations in trading relationships, which we are expanding on both a bilateral and a multilateral basis, the private sector is always actively engaged in the discussions and in the negotiations. In all our investment initiatives, whether it is in Europe, whether it is in Latin America, whether it is in the United States, the private sector locally, whether foreign investors or local investors, are always part of a mission so that they can tell the story of business success and economic success of Trinidad and Tobago. And we know that as a government, the private sector involvement in this and the private sector partnership with us as a government is very important for drumming up the kind of enthusiasm that you need from business investors from abroad.
Very good, very good. Now, if we could talk about funding that's coming from the U.S., from IDB, from IFC, World Bank. Can you give us an overview of who you're working with in the U.S. and what projects the ministry is overseeing?
Okay, well, in this, Trinidad and Tobago has been involved for a long time with the multilateral agencies that are located in the United States, mostly in Washington. We've had a long, ongoing relationship with the World Bank. And many of our projects in education, for instance, in Trinidad and Tobago, has been very successful in the realm of education at almost every level. Many of our projects have been funded by the World Bank. At the present time, we are heavily involved in discussions with the IDB for funding for specific projects that we are engaged in which we are focused on things like economic expansion, the creation of new economic spaces, the diversification of the economy, support for infrastructure, both physical and social infrastructure. We are involved with the IDB in those things. The IMF visits from time to time, and I'm happy to say, though, that we are not involved with them directly in any way. They visit simply to have an assessment of how well the country is going, and generally we get good marks. We were very well rated by Moody's recently as in terms of the management of our economy, prudent management of our economy, and in terms of the business climate and opportunities for investment. And we're very happy for things like that. So we have an ongoing relationship over a very, very long and extended period with all the multilateral agencies, and we are alert to what their thinking is at any time about how well we are doing or what are some of the issues that we might need to take into account.
Very good. And on that note, mentioning rankings, since Trinidad has dropped in the rankings of the ease of doing business, how has that made the government and the private sector work even harder to change things and to improve in your ranking?
Yes, this is something that has concerned us, the fact that we may have too many bureaucratic stumbling blocks to the process of investment. And we are seeking to do a number of things. We are establishing what we call an e-biz link through the Ministry of Trade, and this is being supported by advice and consultancy support from Singapore, where they have in fact established this. We are seeking to establish a one-stop shop facility where investors would be basically walk through all the procedures that are required. We are seeking to better have integrated, coordinated, and collaborative approaches by the various agencies that support investment in the country. And basically, we're trying to move ourselves up in the rankings by making it much easier for people to do business in Trinidad and Tobago. Another area is customs reform, in which we are introducing the technology to make it very, very easy on the ports of Trinidad and Tobago.
Very good, very good.
Maybe was too long-winded on
that's
those
fine.
issues.
That's a good answer. We're going to edit it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Is there anything else you would like to add on camera about the U.S. and Trinidad?
Trinidad and Tobago is a very small country, but it is a very vibrant country, and it has a lot of energy, not just energy resources, but the people are very vital people and very energetic people. We must be among the most traveled people in the world, and we also are among the most open of societies in the world. Our relationship with the United States has been very good, both on the investment front, on the people front, the tourism front. And we would like to see that continue and intensify. We are not hostile to anything American. We are very open, and we are influenced by the strong culture of the United States, even as we try to develop our own culture and try to link it to global opportunities in the world. So we would like to see the relationship flourish, both in investment, in people-to-people relations, and in terms of the attraction of tourists.
Very good answers.
No problem.
No hostility towards
Stand by. We will
Here.
go ahead.
Trinidad and Tobago and the United States have always enjoyed the best of relations. The United States used to have a base here in Chaguaramas, and that came to an end in the 1960s. But for all intents and purposes, what you have really is a big society, the United States, and a small society, Trinidad and Tobago, that have engaged each other in a very, very constructive and mutually supportive way. Trinidad and Tobago is a very vibrant culture. It is a very diverse culture. Not only do we have energy resources, but our people themselves are a major source of energy. And this vibrancy has given us a capacity for openness to the world, even as we try to reach out into the world. We are very well-traveled people. We place a high emphasis on education, and we pride ourselves on being able to welcome people from all parts of the world. So we want to see this relationship between the United States and Trinidad and Tobago continue to prosper in terms of investment, in terms of visitors from Trinidad and Tobago, from the United States to Trinidad and Tobago, and vice versa. And we also want to see it in terms of people-to-people relations. Trinidad and Tobago harbors no hostility whatsoever to the United States or the American people, and we see a natural affinity in the way we embrace aspects of American culture and the extent to which Americans, when they come here, are able to adapt so well to the diversity of Trinidad and Tobago culture. And we really want to build on that tradition of friendliness and warmth and mutual enjoyment of freedom to build better relations in investment, in tourism, people-to-people relations.
Very good.
I hope it works out.